Hello, my beautiful friends, and I will be recording this video in addition to the previous videos and as a continuation of the video about 5D, where I left off on a story about receiving information about Mount Everest and how that applies to all of us in this 3D world, right? Sort of receiving an information from what I call 4D or the digital world and applying it to the 3D world and then seeing deeper in, thus opening this 5D dimension, this extra dimension when you see deeper into things, right? I saw the video myself and I see that the last topic, although very long and dragged out, it is underdeveloped. So I decided to start this video with the story about Mount Everest, the stories about Mount Everest and the summit fever, about it not being mandatory to reach the top, but being absolutely important to everyone's life to descend gracefully and to descend back into camp from the top, from whichever point you reached at the top, in time and alive, right? So let's develop a little bit on that further, and I will go ahead and say in the very beginning of the video, because I think it might open up a different perspective, that Everest and climbing the highest mountain in the world, getting to the top, to the peak of it, represents absolutely everything else in our mundane 3D life, how we treat each other, what people are capable of doing to reach the top, the summit fever that we all experience once in a while when we feel like we're so close to the top, where it might be a little unclear as to what is important and what is not. And as a mountain, as the top itself, I see that can represent many things for many different people. So someone wants to get to the top of the ladder in their career. Someone wants to become famous. Somebody wants to become the best at what they do. Somebody else wants to become the richest. Some, get a glimpse of what it's like to be the one, to be the only one. And I think we all have that summit fever in a way, right? Because of the way we are born, we are fed this constant feed of information that to be the best is the best thing that can happen to you in life, right? So strive to be number one, strive to be the best, strive to be, to break the record, strive to achieve the impossible. I think all of that feed is sort of just, it leaves us nowhere else to go but not appreciate where we are in life to begin with, what we're born into, and it constantly takes us out of the present moment and towards leads our sight towards the top, thus taking us away from the beauty of the present moment just the way it is, from the love for ourselves in just the way we are. And we're all sort of like these dazed and confused a little bit, halfway up, or already lacking oxygen and unable to make clear decisions. Now, this top of the mountain, the top of the Everest, the summit, also represents in a way 5D, because we're basically having the same exact thing happening with 5D, because it is not achievable and so often praised and talked about, and nobody knows what it is and how it is over there, that everybody and their mama wants to get to 5D and understand it and understand what it is. Nevertheless, it's like the summit of Everest, right? You can experience it, but you have to be extremely trained in a way how you're going to get there, 5D, by the way, as of now, can only be experienced as a state of mind that will then manifest a different reality around you than what you're used to see. It might look exactly the same, but it will have new doors, new messages, different opportunities, things that can, that it's like when everything speaks to you, when you understand the matrix, basically. So reaching the top, reaching the 5D or the splitting of the planets or the whatever, you know, it's just a newer interpretation of the same exact thing, of our summit fever, right? So when as the generations figure out that, oh my God, this is a mistake, like I shouldn't have done that, right? I shouldn't have left my family to try to reach the top, now I'm dead, you know, as the generations figure things out, there are new pathways that open up that are, it's the same lesson, only it shows itself as something completely new and different. So a lot of times people don't recognize it and fall into the same trap and, fail to see the truth or the lesson within something particular. So I would say that 5D is one of those things, 5D, 3D, 4D. You really do want to be rooted in 3D. Whatever it is, if you choose to travel back and forth, you definitely don't want to stay in 5D for too long, because just like at the summit, it is not designed to support human body, right? So you will either need supplemental oxygen to sustain your life there for a certain period of time, which is going to require a lot of money. It's going to require a lot of work of other people to keep you there at the top, breathing, which is unnatural, and you're still in a death zone. So many things can go wrong, right? You can stay there overnight because you're going to get too cold. You can't stay there during a storm because you're going to get blown off to the side. So there's still a ton of risk, and yet a lot of us do want to experience it for like a brief moment of time. So you see this also translated into people doing drugs, right? People want to experience that state of what they think is bliss, what they think is a different dimension, right? They see beings, they see the interconnectedness between all things, they see the interconnected fascia that connects everything to everything, how, and people get addicted to the state. They want to come back and come back and come back. But the truth of the matter is, you can't stay there, and you have to descend. And whichever, thing you're trying to achieve in your life, trying to get to the summit, your summit fever might look different from somebody else's summit fever, but essentially, in essence, it's exactly the same thing. So the only exception to those who are trying to reach the top is the population of Sherpas. And the Sherpas are, it's a nation of people that actually live up high in the mountains, and they're acclimated to that sort of altitude, right? Their bodies are born to survive in those conditions, and therefore these Sherpa people are the ones who are usually taking other people who can pay them, right? Who pay them to get to the top, and then the Sherpa does all the work. Well, not all the work. The climber, of course, does the moving, right? One step at a time, one foot in front of the other, breathing and taking pictures and whatever else, moving the hands and maybe making some technical calls, although I doubt. And these people who want to reach the top, they're basically guided all the way to the top, but everybody knows, well, let's come back to Sherpas first. So the Sherpas, they're still taking a tremendous risk, because getting to that point within your psyche or within the actual physical mountain is you're going to pass through the death zone. You might get there through an out-of-body experience, which is going to be like a super stressful experience that happened to you. You might get there through, a real near-death experience. You might get there through the use of drugs, or you might get there through, paying a lot of money to get to where it is that you get to, leaving a lot of people behind, and becoming delirious in a way, right? And Sherpas, they were born, so if you think about Sherpas being born in high altitude, so they are born in 5D, maybe not at like the depth of it, but on the outskirts of this, different dimension where human body is not technically supposed to be able to survive, right? These are the people that are actually were able to keep their physical vehicles while in this inhospitable to life dimension. Now, as they are, this is another point that is coming through right now as I'm speaking this, as they are bringing all those who have summit fever to the top, and so many lives are lost on the way, including Sherpas and expedition leaders, and it feels like that dimension might be in need of that sort of energy, right, to expand itself. So if you really think about it, fifth dimension is sort of death, right? It's a death of the body, and you can experience it through an out-of-body experience, or you can experience it for a short period of time, and then descend back to Earth. So when we're talking about 5D, we're pretty much talking about physical death, right? Non-existence. You're going to pass through 4D, which is a digital realm, leave your body behind, and expand your consciousness into 5D realm, where at this time, there is only a certain group of people who are able to keep their body within the 5D, and those are Sherpas. And in this life, scaled up to our experience, and not the mountaineering experience, I perceive these Sherpas as the spiritual community, those who are born seeing already. So when they get to this 5D state, they don't lose their mind, because this is what happens to those who are not acclimated, or acclimated, before getting to that certain height, right? Which can again represent somebody's height of career, somebody's just internal high, when you begin to see things like unicorns and butterflies and whatever. So where was I? The Sherpas, so acclimating, because they've been like the seers, they've been seeing the world like this their whole life to begin with, even if, like me, for example, I saw little fuzzy layers around our skin when I was very little. Then I stopped seeing it. I called it aura because I didn't even know the word aura. I don't think. I just saw like a little volcanoes like bumping off my skin everywhere, and everybody's skin, and it was like a little layer of that goes the closest to the skin. I then stopped seeing it because everybody was like, oh, you're just trying to be important, and you're just trying to create these random things as if you're seeing, so that you are different from others. And so I decided, oh, well, I guess, being different from others is not a good thing. So let's just settle down on not seeing them. And later on, when I had a psychedelic experience on ecstasy, I saw the same exact thing, which I was like, oh my God, this is what I used to see when I was a child. This fuzziness around our skin, and they're like little volcanoes of energy that constantly erupt around us. So when I started going through my spiritual awakening, which took me almost immediately, it gave me like half a year of like crash, almost die internally and maybe externally, and then bam, it like I ended up being in this 5D realm where things were just absolutely completely magical. Everything was speaking to me. There were rainbows everywhere, literally. It was one of the most peculiar states. I mean, I remember taking pictures and posting them online, and people are like, where are you? Like, what are you, which world are you in? How are you getting these pictures? There were orbs floating in the air, and I was able to photograph. The phone shut off because I ran out of memory. So I had to clean some things up. But I'm going to come right back to where we ended, which was my experience of the 5D back in 2019, 2020, when I went through my transition and touched the summit, stood on the summit, stood in 5D without much preparation, but I did thankfully survive. Not everybody did come back down from that experience. Although I was not doing any drugs, I was not doing anything that would stimulate that to happen, but there were so many things happening. Basically there, I've seen orbs, I've seen everything that you see becomes multidimensional, even things like spider webs. I remember taking pictures of spider webs that were they looked like orbs in them, all in themselves, and like I could if you see sun rays pass through the spider web, and then I can literally connect the sun rays with the spider web, them becoming one bubble like thing, and I can move it with my finger on the pictures. I probably have those pictures somewhere in my 2019 whatever things, but there were instances where through my camera I would just direct it onto the lake, and then there were orbs coming, one as if one orb is coming somewhere from the bottom, from me, some from another one from the sun, and when they touch, the entire reality gets skewed, everything begins to shake, and there is this clicking sound, basically of the two dimensions merging together through this phone of mine, which is the 4D, the digital dimension, right? So my cat is going crazy. So long story shorter, people that are born into these spiritual gifts, they have easier time reaching the top and coming back down, and they are also not confused as to the ability of the human body to be able to reach that with enough training, right? To be able to reach that height, to be able to reach the summit without having to use steroids, drugs, or whatever else is that is people use to just put that check mark that they've been there, they've done that. So that is the big difference between the Sherpas, the spiritual community, and those that are trying to just enter into this 5D state and experience it, and have not taken the time to go through the spiritual journey to get there. Because if you go through the spiritual journey, you are then reborn in your next lifetime as a seer, as a Sherpa. You can actually be a Sherpa and be born somewhere there, you know, or you can just be reborn as a servant. And this is when you give, you know, this is what the spiritual path is pretty much about, you know, you becoming the servant, of you realizing that the only way for the whole to ascend and to experience what it is that they want to experience, and to understand that the summit is just, or the fifth dimension is a halfway journey, that the most important thing is the descent from there, is safely getting back down, safely getting back into 3D world. We are here in this physical world. Our children are born in this physical world. For so long as we have roots here, this is the place that we need to be taken care of. This is the place that we need to be taken seriously. And it is not about being the best, being the fastest, it is about accepting any position that you're in, because it is so for the whole, for the greater whole, right? And I'm not talking about complacency. I'm not talking about accepting bad circumstances, right? But to clearly understand what is truly the journey. And the journey is not the summit. The summit is halfway journey. The journey is getting back home alive. The journey is getting back to your family alive. That's the full journey, right? And so often we see people's character through different situations in life when they actually do get close to the summit, and they do experience the summit fever. And just like in real life, on the mountain, people experience, I explained in the previous video, people experience, it's called cerebral edema, or the swelling of the brain, where they can no longer make rational decisions. And I believe it happens not only before reaching the summit in the death zone, but actually with people who are about to reach the summit in their life, or about to reach the ultimate high, while doing drugs. Let's say they all are in this death zone. It's like, how long are you going to, your body is going to be able to sustain? Your body is dying, right? That's it. It's a fact. In the death zone, on top, getting to the top of the mountain, it's a proven fact that your body, if you're not an experienced Sherpa who was born into it, into that height, on that height, your body is dying. Even experienced Sherpas still, their bodies, although acclimated, they're not 100% ready to spend long periods of time in that sort of altitude, in those sort of conditions, if the conditions get worse on the mountain, with temperatures dropping, and you're experiencing frostbite, and nobody can protect you from that. There's many other things that are very extreme about reaching the top, whether it be you reaching a top during a high, or reaching a top, the top that you've been walking towards your whole life, and maybe basically making some decisions that that are delirious. I've seen people making through this delirium when they're very, very close to the top, but they're already running out of the oxygen, and they're like, no, I have to make it. I've already made it this far. Nothing else matters. And they get to the top, and then they stay on the top for like 40 minutes where the sun is going down, their oxygen is almost over. So they're basically standing there already dead, right? But as they begin to descend, it actually hits them, and they fall, and they're no longer willing to walk any further. But people from base camps, they get on the radios with them, and they start reminding them, you have children, you have your wife, you have so many people counting on you, waiting for you, please get up and start walking, and they get into this like daze and like comfort zone, and they all recall like being wrapped in this warm cloak, which is a sign of hypothermia. settling in, and they kind of go into this forever sleep. But some people are able from the base camp to pull them through out of this delirium and say, hey, you have children, you have to come back down, right? Come back to earth. Now that's good when you have those anchors here, right? Although you are playing with their hearts, right? Because if something happens to you, you're done, you're gone, you're in the fifth dimension for good. But where your body is no longer needed, necessary, it's a universal consciousness, so to speak, dimension. But the pain that you're inflicting on those left behind is realistically the most important thing, right? So getting to so some have those anchors, and you tell them and they wake up, you know, and they realize that you know, they need to start descending, and that descent is the actual heroic act, right? It's not actually getting to the top, being at the top, being the best at what you do, but actually gracefully descending to the level where everyone else is at. What else did I want to say about this summit fever? Yes, some people are responsive, where when you tell them, okay, your wife, your kids are waiting for you, you know, please don't do it, or maybe don't even go in the first place. And some people are like, well, I'll just get a new wife, you know, I'll go ahead and do my thing, and then I'll just get a new family altogether, if they're not willing to stick around. So there's many different ways to watch this transmission from what I call the 4D, the digital space, the digital realm, where all of these Akashic records are held now in a digital form, which will then drip into our experience one video at a time, that can explain certain things that will first help us see how these things manifest in 3D. Let's say I saw a video about certain thing. I realized that this video is pertaining to a 3D experience. As I am analyzing that experience and how this beautiful 4D video put together by so many people about a story, how it pertains to our physical 3D world, in that contemplation, I enter 5D, right? I reach a point of clarity. I reach a point of understanding of certain lessons, wisdom, people. It is the all-knowing state, and that is the 5D state. When you're when you reach, well, like in 3D, you need explanation. 4D is bringing the explanation to you in a very fun and interactive way, if you agree to it, if you agree to the cookies, right? If you're like, okay, send me these things that I ask for without myself sometimes knowing. If you open up that path, then you get through this realm of infinite information that is now sorted for you based on the words that you speak, and is then connecting you to these new understandings, which is 5D. In 5D, there is only knowing. So 3D questioning with 4D information allows you to take the leap into the all-knowing, into the 5D dimension, which is to me very much internal, and then it can from internal expand outward and present itself into you in a 3D, in a form of a reality that is full of miracles, that is full of it is a state of flow. If you've ever experienced a state of flow, you were in 5D, you were connected to the universal consciousness, you were a part of it, you were no longer separate, you no longer had questions or doubts, you just know and you just move, right? So that's the 5D. And of course we all want to experience it, but at which cost, right? Will it cost us our body? Will it cost us our family? Will it cost us our sanity? Will it cost us even to destroy our community by simply not doing anything but simply earning the money? How do I explain it? The more people are untrained that want to reach the top of Everest, the more people they put in danger, because as they're climbing up, there are teams and teams of people, and sometimes they get intertwined between each other. They're all hanging on to the same rope. So if all you do in life is if you're good at making money at any cost, and then you're like, okay, I want to climb to Mount Everest, or now I want to reach this state of clarity, or now I want to feel this ultimate high, and see what it is that these people are talking about. Unfortunately, there is no amount of money that can buy the skill or the health for your body to be able to acclimate on such heights. And that's another thing. Just like on top of the mountain, there are certain conditions that your body has to be in an optimum state in order for it to be able to survive there any period of time, right? You have to be clean, clear, your lungs have to be healthy. It is imperative, otherwise you'll have a heart attack, right? You reach the state, your body is going to be left behind, and in many cases you're going to be just hanging out in 4D before jumping back to 3D grounding, hopefully through rebirth, and trying to make your way back up, right? Because this is how our mind, for some reason, is set up, that somehow we have to reach the height, we have to be the best, we have to break the limits, we have to push the boundaries, and that mediocre is not okay, being like everyone else is not okay. You know, we're making that, we're making ourselves go up and onto these heights at any level possible to escape mediocrity at any cost. All right, where was I with all of this? Some examples. I would say that there are so many examples of like well-known individuals who have reached the height, who have reached their 5D. They've experienced, let's say, like a great example would be Britney Spears, right? I mean, the girl was at the height of her mountain, clearly experienced what people are moving towards their whole life, and then could not come down. Nobody explained to her that that's halfway point, that you are going to get older, you're going to become not popular, your body is going to change, your voice is going to change, your hair is going to fall out with the amount of extensions you're pulling in, that all of this is very temporary. So please, let's now start learning how to gracefully descend. And she clearly has no guides to take her back down from the top. So she's stuck there, right? Absolutely delirious. And that is very unfortunate, because it does happen to many, right? Where they're like, just didn't have a great support team, didn't have like sobering guides who would explain to this individual from the very beginning, hey, like that's a halfway point. The summit is the halfway point. If you don't make it down, then your journey doesn't really, of being on the top doesn't count, right, as a success. It doesn't. you will always be the one who failed to get back down. And that can refer to so many experiences in our life. I think one particular individual keeps striking me. I think, what's his name? Will Smith. Yeah, he made this one post. I don't know if it was a post or if I saw it in the dream, but I remember I see him in the dreams often. I think he is one of the 144 because he knows how to get back down really, really well. He goes up and down and back and forth and back and forth. Very grounded individual in a way, but also is capable of expanding his consciousness into multitude of dimensions. But I remember him posting something. I don't know if he was standing, but I saw him standing on the top, like above on the mountain. And the post was something like, what do you do when you get to the top? Well, you, first of all, you know that you need to get back down, but you also observe all the people that helped you get to the top. You appreciate them and you help them, and maybe next time, instead of paying money to get to the top, you use that money to actually make a difference within the more grounded layers of reality, right? Instead of sending out money to the moon, there's so many things that can be done here, right? But of course, Elon Musk has an insane summit fever of being the first here, the first there, the first all the way at the top. Meanwhile, if all that money stayed somewhere here, nobody would ever need to risk their lives to do a lot of strange things for very strange people, right? In many ways. So yes, there are these examples of people having great coaches, having great Sherpas who are and who have great understanding of what this whole thing means. And then there are those who are just the walking dead, even before they go to the top. It's like you can tell them 100,000 times you're not ready for it, or you're not really understanding the amount of skill it requires, or the amount of danger that you're putting yourself into because you're physically not capable, mentally not capable. So the mountain is just going to ask you for your life, right? You're going to pay with your life force when you get to the top. That's how dimensions expand. That's how dimensions survive. And fifth dimension is is a beautiful dimension, but for now it cannot sustain a human body. Only some, right? Those are who are born into it. Is this it? Yeah, I think this is pretty much it. But I think that it's important to talk about the descent just as much as it is important to talk about the ascension. Everyone is talking about ascending, but the truth of the matter is it's not about ascending. It's about reaching that height, taking a glimpse, and then descending back down. And most danger is happening already on the way down as you descend. None of us are equipped to be descending from any height, because whatever your height is your greatest height. All right, so we keep chasing the high, meanwhile forgetting that the most important, the mandatory thing is to get back down, to get back home. And doing that safely requires help and training, and in whichever capacity you imagine that descent to be. For years now, since I've started recording any of these videos, I've always talked about people, the universe is breathing, and it's like a pupil of the eye, and some of us are on the expansion phase as the pupil is expanding, and we're getting away from the center. So expansion in many ways meaning getting away from home, right? It means separation. It means many things that we don't consider. And then so expansion contraction phase is getting back closer to the center, is when things become more dense, when things maybe speed up, when it's important to become minimalistic so you don't get hit in this whirlpool by all the things, by all of your attachments. So I've always talked about these two phases, that some of us on the expansion phase, some of us are in the contraction phase, going back to the center, eliminating all of the things that are unnecessary. Those of us who are in the contraction phase, we don't understand the concept of money and success. That's not how we measure success. Our success is measured by our ability to transmute things. So instead of just letting go of things and throwing them into this whirlpool for others to be slammed with, we know we need to take our biggest attachments, like the big pieces of furniture, right, and transmute them into something so light that when they are exiting through us, they don't hit anybody who is close to us in the face. So that's how we measure success. Have we been able to transmute a certain attachment of ours? My whole life I've been measuring success by being able to let go of addictions. I've been addicted to so many things, and later on I found out that that was a part of my journey, is in order to fight an addiction, in order to truly understand it, and in order to get it out of the DNA of my children and their children, I have to burst it. It's like a sound therapy where I have to lower myself to the vibration of the addiction. I have to experience it. I have to become one with the addiction, and then raise my vibration to burst it, to burst all of the cells, all of the memory of that addiction around me. And that's how I've been measuring my success. I've successfully quit smoking, drinking, all the recreational drugs and prescription pills, which was one of the craziest addictions. Postpartum, being over-prescribed pain meds and getting addicted to that. Even coffee, I don't drink coffee anymore. So it's like success after success after success after success. That's my success. But there is no time to, or no even thinking about how, am I going to make money? How am I going to become successfully financial? That's just not a part of my vocabulary. That's not what I'm here for. So I'm sure it's hard for some to understand that measure success in a form of money or certain type of education or certain type of career success. Those people are in a different phase. They're in an expansion phase. They're still learning. And then believe me that after reaching the top, some will realize that the beauty is that of being a servant and not, the one who everybody has to serve for. So that's when the spiritual journey begins. That's when you decide, when you realize that this is your path. You're not looking for anything like financial success, but you're looking for inside growth, inner growth. That's when you become a Sherpa in a way, right? And maybe in the next lifetime you are born as a guide, as a Sherpa, to guide others to this dimension where they can hopefully, by reaching the top, understand that there is nothing there, and that all life happens at the bottom, and all change happens at the bottom, and all fun is at the bottom. All right, happy descending, my friends. I love you all very much. I hope this video opens up new trails of thought for you, new journeys. Have a beautiful day ahead, and comment, like, share, subscribe. Love you. Bye.